Every haunted place has a story with a dark past. This is Ghost Encounters Podcast. Welcome back, all you spooky people, to the Ghost Encounters Podcast. I am paranormal investigator Justin Torok.
And I'm Hannah, your death-obsessed bestie.
Unfortunately, Jordan is sick, and she cannot be here. But Jordan, we miss you, and we love you.
Miss you, Jordan.
Hope you feel better soon.
Yes.
All three of us were at Greenway Pride, and it was fantastic. We sold a bunch of our Spooky Pride merch. Mm-hmm. Hannah took fabulous photos, so if you go to Greenway Pride's social media accounts, those are all her photos.
Thank you.
And shout out to Maggie for organizing such a wonderful event.
Oh, it was awesome. And shout out to everybody who showed up, too, because it was really great. We got to talk to so many people, asked a bunch of people if they believed in ghosts. It was pretty...
Yeah, everyone was all into it.
Yeah.
We were the table to go to.
We were! I mean,
obviously.
Opinion biased, however.
Now, we do have another Pride event coming up that we are sponsoring, and we will be at selling merch, but more information to come on that. On this episode, we turn the page to a chapter filled with whispered secrets and spectral sightings as we explore the silent corridors of haunted libraries. These buildings of knowledge, where history sleeps in bound leather, are more than just homes of scholarly pursuits. They are sanctuaries for spirits that roam amongst the stacks of books. From books flying off the shelves to mysterious apparitions that vanish into thin air. These libraries hold spirits that will not stay quiet.
Oh, I like how you did that there. You know, it's like a little silence in the library.
Exactly. Shh, the librarian doesn't want you to, be loud.
You're disturbing the other patrons.
Now, Hannah, you love books.
I do. I love books.
All right, so your top authors, go.
Oh, okay, that's so hard. I know, obviously Stephen King. I never shut up about Stephen King.
Nope.
Also Neil Gaiman, because I never shut up about Neil Gaiman either.
Absolutely not.
My third one, it's hard. It's like, it's a sliding scale. And I know it's not hard, but also I really love Tolkien. I feel like... I
mean, he is a great author. I do love the book. I mean, obviously, you and I, we love The Lord of the Rings. Jordan loves Lord of the Rings, too.
Dude, if you don't love Lord of the Rings, you're just wrong.
Exactly. And if you don't love the Ghost Encounters Podcast, you're just wrong.
Yeah!
But Lord of the Rings is great. He is a great writer. He does go off on tangents a bit, but he's a good writer.
Yeah, it comes from a place of love, and I respect it.
My favorite comment Jordan ever made about Lord of the Rings, we were watching the movies, and it was the last movie, Return of the King, and Frodo fell down yet again. And it's all quiet in the house, and Jordan just goes, "He's such a shitty hobbit."
Rude.
So funny. Now, books on my side. I mean, of course, I love anything like paranormal books and things like that. A recent one I've been reading is The Science of Monsters. And that is written by Kelly Florence and Meg Hafdahl. Shout out to you girls. This book is amazing. Really cool stuff in there. Growing up, though, my favorite author was Anthony Horowitz. He wrote the Alex Rider series.
Okay.
No one make fun of me, but you know what? It's a teenage spy book, and I was a kid, so I loved it.
Yeah, no.
And there weren't many books back then for, men who, boys who read.
Yeah.
You know? And he wrote some horror, too. There's Horror by Anthony Horowitz. Mm-hmm. And I read that as a kid, and I loved it.
Yeah. Sometimes people shit on YA stuff, but, anything that gets a kid to read, man.
Yeah.
And if you can connect to it, if you can read it as a kid, it's great. It's fine by me. Don't shit on YA.
Well, everyone write to us. Tell us what your favorite authors or your favorite books are. We would love to know.
And you know what? Still a reminder that one person reached out and was like, "Hey, is this that ghost book that you had when you were 17 and you left at your parents' house and it's got a purple cover?" I'm still looking for that book. It's not at my parents' house. I don't know what happened to it, and I still don't know what it's called. So if you can come up with the correct book, I'll send you a fucking shirt.
You'll get a free shirt.
Yeah.
Now, that is on the Urban Legends podcast episode, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Listen to that. Hannah's willing to give out a free shirt if someone can find this book that she's talking about.
It's an impossible task, so I've posed a challenge.
Speaking of books, let's get right into our first haunted library. I'm going to talk about the Peoria Public Library in Peoria, Illinois.
Ooh.
From its inception, this public library was marked by a cloud of misfortune, its foundation cursed by the echoes of a tragic past. It all began in 1830 with Mrs. Andrew Gray and the death of her brother, after which she gained custody of her nephew. The nephew refused to get a job and generally trotted on the wrong side of the law, way too often, and Mrs. Gray was forced to hire a lawyer. This lawyer was David Davis.
That's unfortunate.
That's a name.
It's an unfortunate name.
He was a new lawyer, and he was new in town, but he managed to navigate the young man out of legal binds, but at a steeply cost.
Ooh.
Concerned over payment, Davis forced the Grays to use their home as collateral for his services, and when the bill came due, Davis sued to collect the mortgage as his fees, and the nephew was given the boot.
Damn.
Very shortly after, the nephew was found dead in the Illinois River, his demise sealing the curse that Miss Gray pronounced on the land, cursing all future occupants.
Wow. So, like, was he pushed in? Did he
Cannot find that information because it was so long ago,
Ooh.
but we do know he was killed and was found in the river. Now, she placed this curse on this land that anyone who owned this land or occupied it was going to be cursed, right?
Cursed.
So,
Cursed with
the curse seemed to work because the land where Mrs. Gray's lush gardens once thrived fell barren.
Oh, fuck.
It was then that the first ghostly appearance was reported, and that was of Mrs. Gray's nephew banging on the door, begging to be let in.
You know, I didn't expect you to pound on the table, and I jumped out of my chair because I was into it. I was into the story. You had me going.
Good. I hope I have all you going, too. Now, here's where the library comes in. In 1894, the city of Peoria purchased a property on Monroe Street where Mrs. Andrew Gray once lived. Whether unaware or perhaps dismissive of the dark lore, a library was built, but the ominous legacy becomes unmistakable. The first 3 directors of the library met their ends under bizarre and tragic circumstances,
Wow.
each death reinforcing the curse's grimly potency. First, E.S. Wilcox perished in a streetcar accident in 1915. The second, Samuel Patterson Prowse, died from a heart attack suffered at a library board meeting in 1921. And the third, Dr. Edwin Wiley, died by suicide after swallowing arsenic in 1924.
That's a bad fucking way to go.
Yeah. So, the first
Fuck!
the first 3 directors just died in weird ways.
Yes.
What are the chances?
A streetcar. That's
Just a streetcar accident.
That's
and then
bizarre.
a heart attack at a board meeting.
That's
Now, I get it.
actually-
Heart
yeah.
attacks can happen everywhere. It's awful. But in a hopefully calm situation, is that just going to happen?
I mean,
I don't
I
know.
wouldn't think so, unless what's his face was not feeling great and was like, the
Right.
show must go on.
But that happened in the library is even more ominous.
Bruh.
Even now, long after their deaths, some say Mr. Wilcox's attachment to the library lingers. Patrons whisper of a figure roving the stacks in period garb, and staff members report his visage peering from the basement shadows. People have felt mysterious cold drafts and disembodied voices echoing their names when no one else is around.
Wow.
Hauntings are not the only strange things about this library. This is a fun small fact about this place. In 1907, school superintendent Newton Dougherty blew up a safe inside the library to hide evidence of embezzlement of school funds.
Oh my god.
The library was also part of a blackmail plot following the death of George P. McNear Jr. Now, McNear's widow received 2 different letters informing her that she would be given the name of her husband's murderer if she left $1,000 in a special drawer on the 3rd floor education room of the public library.
That sounds like a scam. I'm calling it now.
I know,
It's a-
right?
It's a fucking scam, lady.
William A. Gibson and his son Billy Gibson were arrested for blackmail when they showed up to retrieve the cash.
Wow. Okay, so it wasn't a scam. It was legit.
I don't know if there were people. Whether they knew the murderer's name or not is unknown.
Okay, it could have still been a scam.
Yeah. I'm going to go into my next story. It's kind of short. And then, Hannah, you're going to go right after the break. 'Cause I know you had a lot of information about a library that's close to our home.
Yeah. Oh, I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
I found a list and I got fucking
I can't wait.
stoked. Okay.
The next, I'm going to talk about the Willard Library. In the heart of Evansville, Indiana, the Willard Library stands as a vulnerable institution, draped not just in the silence of its archives, but in the whispers of the paranormal. Known as the oldest public library in the state, it all began in 1876 when real estate and railroad Mongol Willard Carpenter began to bring his dream of building a library into fruition. Tragically, Willard died before his library was completed, and his death jeopardized the funding for it. Rather than leave his fortune to his surviving children, Willard left his estate to his grand project, the library, and they hated him for it. Hated him. His estranged daughter, Louise Carpenter, sued to have access to the inheritance. She lost, and the library continued to grow.
You can't fucking stop the books.
He was rich, had a lot of money, died, and he said, fuck my kids, it's going to the library. That is my final dream.
Yeah, I respect it. It could always be worse.
Yes.
He could have left it to his dog or like his horse or something.
At least it went to a good thing, because he wanted the library to be free to the public.
Yeah.
It was a nice thing.
Totally. I think that's admirable, and his kids were assholes. Fuck 'em.
Yeah, they wanted
fuck
the
them
money.
anyway.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Well, decades later, long after Louise had died and her father had begun to fade from memory, something strange happened in the library. In the early morning of 1937, a janitor was making his rounds at the library. The library was calm at night, so he typically worked alone. At around 3 a.m., as usual, he strolled down the basement stairs, down a small corridor, and began to head towards the furnace. Then, a veiled woman wearing gray appeared before him. Startled, he dropped his flashlight, and when he went to retrieve it, the woman had disappeared.
Fuck.
The janitor fled, and shortly after, he quit his position at the library.
That's, you know what, man? You gotta go back in there. You gotta...
Not him. He said, fuck this place.
Go back in there! You wanna know? I wanna know.
Right?
Yeah, I wanna know.
But since then, this elusive apparition has made regular appearances, shrouded in a misty veil of gray, wandering the labyrinth of stacks and causing inexplainable cold drafts, books and furniture being moved, and a pervasive scent of perfume. Adding to the eerie atmosphere, the library has embraced its haunted reputation by installing webcams in various corners, allowing curious souls around the world to watch and wait for the Gray Lady.
Has anybody seen her on the webcams?
So there is a website, www.willardghost.com. You can find information about the library. You can watch all the webcams, and they have, typical spots where she's seen and things that people have experienced. So you can find all that information there.
All right,
it's pretty
that's
cool.
Yeah,
it's very rare that you find a place that really embraced it to that level where it's like, hey, we're going to put up cameras, and you can watch the library whenever you want at any time of the day or night, and let us know if you see anything.
Hey, yeah, you crowdfund it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we're crowdfunding our ghosts. And do you ever wonder if ghosts, like, they can look a certain way at will, or if they're just, like, kind of stuck looking how they look? Do you ever wonder?
So, we brought this up with the medium, right? Because I've been asked that before.
Yeah, that's true.
I was asked, like, from a skeptic, if ghosts are real, then why don't they just show up naked? Their clothes didn't die. And my thought, and the medium said that I was correct in this thought, is that their energy and they're presenting themselves in the way that they remember or want to present themselves to you.
Right, I remember
I wouldn't want to present myself naked to anyone.
Fuck no.
I remember she was saying when she would get spirits to talk to her, they would appear appropriately for that person. Like the one man who died appeared in his lab apparel because he worked with the person that was in the room. And someone's dad was showed up young to her, but then it changed his appearance and showed up, older to the daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
So that's what I take on that.
Yeah, I can.
And I kind of like that.
No, I do too. Because I feel like, I don't know, if I was going to be a ghost somewhere, I would not mind being a gray lady in a library. I think it's spooky, it's romantic, I love it.
And it would give you time to read all the books you want.
Yeah, I'll be in the fucking horror section.
That's right.
Don't come for me, man. Mind your business.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break. Maybe read a book. No, not that long. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by The Colony Meadery. If you haven't tried mead yet, it's alcohol made for money, it's all natural, totally gluten-free, and delicious. Colony Meadery is one of the best meaderies in the world, and it's located in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. Stop in and try a flight of meads, grab some bottles or cans to go, and experience some of the best booze in the world. They have flavors ranging from tart and quaffable lemon laws and Wu-Tang Crayon to sweet cinnamon and vanilla series of tubes, and even sweet heat with their mango habanero. Learn more at colonymeadery.com. Ghost Encounters is sponsored by Phoenix Fire Media. Elevate your business with their digital marketing strategies, including their multi-award-winning social media marketing, photography, and video production. Phoenix Fire Media, igniting success through creative excellence. Visit phoenixfiremedia.com. If you're enjoying the Ghost Encounters podcast, hit subscribe and give us 5 stars. To watch full episodes of the Ghost Encounters show, visit ghost-encounters.com. And don't forget, when you're on our website, click on the Spooky Shop for all your Ghost Encounters spooky swag. To stay up to date with Ghost Encounters, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Ghost Encounters PA. To send spooky fan stories, email GhostEncountersStories@gmail.com or message us on social. Do you want ad-free episodes of Ghost Encounters podcast, plus bonus episodes, extra content, and much more? Then you should head to Patreon and be a spooky VIP. Go to patreon.com/Ghost Encounters podcast and be haunted from all the benefits with the spooky VIP membership. And we are back. Hannah, I cannot wait to talk about this next library with you.
I know. This is local. I'm really excited because I started looking up haunted libraries because this was one of my topics, right? And I started to think, like, what would be a pleasant place to haunt for eternity? You know, because all the other ones we do, it's like, you know, you're in an asylum, that sucks.
Yep.
You're in a prison, that fucking sucks. Like, so what would, I mean, like, say you're haunting your house, and, like, that's not so bad, right. I suppose.
Or you're at the place where you're murdered, that sucks.
Yeah, that really fucking sucks, too. You just, like, you get stuck in the trauma loop forever.
Yeah.
You know? But so I thought, like, what would be an okay place to haunt for eternity? Like, if you could pick, you know? And I was like, let's do fucking haunted libraries.
I would love to haunt a movie theater.
That would be cool.
You can still watch all the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you probably wouldn't even have to go anywhere.
Exactly.
You know? Like, you wouldn't have to miss it. It's like in Interview with the Vampire. The original one, I guess, the Brad Pitt one, where he's like, oh, you know, I missed sunrises until I saw them in the movies. You remember that bit?
Yeah.
That's like kind of sweet.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I've just probably revealed something about myself in that comment. But anyway, haunted libraries. And I figured, like, it would be okay to haunt a library.
Yeah.
It would be cool. Like, you finally get the time to read all the books, you know, that you've been...
And everyone remembers that scene in Ghostbusters. The first ghost they see is the apparition of a librarian.
Yeah, she knew what the fuck was up.
She was creepy looking, and she went, shh, when they were loud, and then they raised their voice, and she became all fucking scary and scared them out of the building. They ran too.
Yeah.
That's what they were looking for, and they ran.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's always a little bit scarier than you think it would be. So, that being what it is, I was really, really stoked upon looking up haunted libraries, to find one that is super duper local to us. The Easton Area Public Library is haunted.
That's awesome.
I was literally, like, out past it yesterday for work.
It's 20 minutes away. It's right in our backyard.
It's right there.
And that's Easton, Pennsylvania.
Yes. That is, it's like 20 minutes from us.
Yeah.
I was out there.
Yeah. Some people might not know where we live, but we're from Pennsylvania, for those of you just listening to us. Those of you that have been, you know us all too well.
Yeah, because we at least every other podcast, we're like, something, the Lehigh Valley. You know, we're local, we love it. Well, Justin, you're super local. You're from here. I'm a transplant, but
you are not too far away though. And I've been here my whole life. But you're from Reading, which is hour.
Yeah, it's not that far away. Still Pennsylvania, and I'm always stoked to find haunted shit in Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
You know, it's within driving
We have rich
distance.
history.
Absolutely, Pennsylvania's old as fuck.
It is.
Like, I think back in the colonial times, Pennsylvania was Philadelphia was either initially the United States capital or thought of to be the United States capital.
I think it was thought of to be. Yeah.
As Benjamin Franklin really liked it.
He did.
He was a weird dude, Benjamin Franklin. He liked to walk around. He liked to walk around naked and say he was taking air baths.
Air baths.
Air baths.
He just wanted to be a nudist.
Yeah, you know what? Like, fly that freaky little flag, be frank.
I totally believe it, because didn't he have like a bunch of wives or mistresses?
He definitely got around.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Which, like, hey man, he was, oh my god, he lived to be like 77 and was like getting it the whole time.
Maybe that's a trick. We just gotta walk around naked.
Yeah.
Take some air baths.
Take some air baths, have a lot of sex, and
listen to the Ghost
for
Encounters
nothing.
podcast. That's
Yeah,
the other thing you need to do to stay
you go.
alive along.
There you go. We're preserving your life so that you can do your best haunting when it eventually ends.
And it might be at a library.
You never know.
So let's get into the Easton Public Library.
Anyway, all right. So apparently there are 2 Easton area public libraries.
Oh.
I was not aware of this, but the haunted one is on Church Street. If you've been out by the Easton Public Market, which if you haven't, you should, or gone to Bacon Fest, which also if you haven't, you should.
Yep.
Then you've been past a haunted library, and you never even knew. The story goes that in 1895, the people of Easton decided that what Easton really needed was a nice new public library. So they quickly drew up a plan for funding, confirmed it, got all their ducks in a row, and set their sights on a promising location. With their plans in place, they applied directly to Andrew Carnegie for a Carnegie Foundation grant. I had to look up what this was because I have not been to public high school in a long time. I'm old. But apparently steel magnate Andrew Carnegie was of the belief that the wealthy should use their wealth to better society, which is totally admirable, a great idea in theory.
Why can't more rich people be like that?
We're fucking coming for you, Bezos. But he set up a fund to benefit public education in the United States.
Nice.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Carnegie was so impressed with Easton's preparedness that he immediately awarded them a grant of $50,000.
That was a lot back then.
Honestly, that's a lot to me now.
I mean, yes, but I mean, think about 1895.
Yeah, it's like unheard of.
$50,000.
It's like unheard of money.
Yeah.
The brand new Easton Public Library opened in 1903 due to that grant.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, there have been some other more recent grants and some improvements and renovations, so the structure isn't exactly the same, but those renovations are not relevant, so I skipped them.
No problem.
Nope, nobody cares.
We're just here for the ghosts.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Easton Area Public Library is a really lovely bluestone building with high arched windows. Inside, under 12-foot ceilings and green marble columns, is that same attention to detail in the oak and glass doors and large arching windows. Can you tell I work in real estate?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
It is a beautiful building.
It is. I've seen it, but now I've seen photos of it.
Yeah.
But comparatively, I don't know. Uncommonly, the Easton Public Library is situated on these beautiful park-like grounds. This is because the plot of land that the original Easton Library Association selected as the site of their new library was formerly the site of the German Reformed Cemetery.
No.
Yes! There it is. That's the source of the haunt.
Did they just move the headstones?
We'll get to it.
Oh.
We'll get to it. The German Reformed Cemetery was initially the site of 514 burials. It was disused as the city had deemed it full, and there were no more active burials. And I wrote this in my notes. I have, yes, Justin, they moved the bodies.
Good.
Because we talk about Poltergeist sometimes because that's one of my favorite movies. And
so
I
great.
got
The original is so good.
Fantastic. Although I did torrent it in college and it gave my computer this catastrophic virus that just decimated absolutely everything and it would not turn on. I don't know what I did, but it really fucked my shit up. And I took it to, on campus, I took it to the people who fixed computers and I was like, please help me. And they were like, girl, there is nothing we can do. What the fuck have you been doing?
My God.
I just downloaded Poltergeist.
It wasn't porn, it was Poltergeist.
Anyway,
but they still disrupted the cemetery.
They did. They disrupted everything. And while they did, at least for the most part, move the bodies, they moved 484 of the bodies from the cemetery. They were removed by family and repatriated to other city burial grounds. However, the remains of 30 people remained unclaimed. Out of these 30, 2 still occupy marked plots on the property of the library. The first one being one of the founders of Easton, William Parsons. He can be found on the front lawn and surrounded by a little iron fence, whereas, his headstone's still there. I don't think they moved him at all. I guess because he was important for Easton. The other remaining grave still on the grounds of the Easton Public Library is the grave of Elizabeth Bell Morgan. She remains in a separate marked plot, but was relocated from her initial plot to a spot on the west lawn. And I read that her grave had been moved but left behind. And I was like, why? Who is this person? Why was she special? Right. So I found a little bit more info on her, and she actually lived a really interesting life. I'm not going to get into all of it, but it seems like she was a popular, beloved local person who kind of became sort of a town patroness. She was known in her later, she lived to be 77, and in her later life, she was known as Mammy, and she was also known to be a really impressive self-taught legal scholar.
Okay.
And people would go to her for advice, legal advice, and she would fucking nail it every time. She drew up her own will, and it was perfect. So she was an impressive, intelligent person with a fondness for books. And so there's the association, and that was why they left her body on the premises of the library. And she's going to be important again. However, there were also 28 other people whose families were either unwilling or unable to move their bodies. The 28 other folks whose families had initially paid to have them buried on the property, which was previously a cemetery, they were all dumped together with the other unknown and misplaced body parts into a common vault or mass grave that is still located on the property. So they just dug a big fucking hole and threw everybody in. Yeah. Along with finger bones and femurs and shit that nobody knew where the fuck it went.
Of course.
Of course they did. So they only mostly moved the bodies. For the most part, bodies were moved. Okay. To add insult to injury, the spot where the mass grave is still located was paved over into a parking lot during the renovation of the library.
Really?
Yes. So they got straight up Richard III'd.
Yep.
And they're under a fucking parking lot.
Jeez.
Which is a huge bummer. And I would be very pissed off about that too if I was a ghost.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a parking lot as a living person. Actually, you can still see the spot very clearly from the northeast exit of the library.
Oh, really?
Yes. You can tell where it is because it keeps fucking sinking.
Wow. Of course it's sinking down to where they are.
Yep, there's a big fucking sinkhole, and the sinkhole is full of bodies.
Oh my god.
Easton!
Sinkhole is full of bodies.
There you go. That's ridiculous. But it's also said that okay, wait. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So it keeps sinking, and it's they keep having to do work on the spot. They keep having to repave. They keep having to fix leaks because there's this giant mass grave that just keeps causing fucking problems. It's also said that the grave sits, where it sits underground, the actual mass of it, is directly next to the right side of the children's library. Which is in the basement.
Jeez.
So it's children's library right next door to the mass grave.
Children's section, bodies.
Yeah. Little kids, death. Disrespect of corpses, children.
Welcome to Pennsylvania, everybody.
I can't crap on Easton, but somebody did try to carjack me in Easton.
That did happen.
That did happen. So it's like it's complicated in Easton. Fuck, man, that's ridiculous. As a gesture to honor the folks in the mass grave, there's an old cemetery map with the graves marked out on display in one of the rooms of the libraries as like, I don't know, I guess a conciliatory gesture for the spirits. Which, you know, maybe that's helpful, maybe it isn't. I guess I respect the attempt to own it.
The attempt.
Yeah. Because I guess we're a public library now. What the fuck are they going to do with all these people?
Yeah, they're not getting another $50K grant.
Yeah. No, that's probably not in this fucking economy.
Definitely not.
On an election year? Never. Anyway.
No, people are too busy burning books, not trying to save them.
That's for goddamn sure. Okay, so there is quite a bit of paranormal activity reported by the library staff and patrons.
Cool.
Yes, indeed. Doors are known to slam open and shut, like somebody's walking through them and closing the door.
Oh, that's
behind.
cool. So not just shut. I love that.
Yeah.
Open and shut.
Yep. Just. All right. How was that sound effect? Was
that's
it
pretty good.
Thank you. Filing cabinet doors also open and close. Sometimes they swing around, like the ghosts are playing with them. Books have been known to fly off shelves, which is kind of my dream paranormal encounter, for a ghost to hit me in the face with a flying library book. That's the brand.
Yeah.
I want that.
If that happened to me, I'd be like, what's the importance of this book? And I'd look too much into it. And inevitably it's just a random book they chose to throw at me.
And just let it ruin your life. The ghost also apparently likes hair. People creep down. People often feel invisible hands either running through their hair or giving it a nice fluff.
That's cool.
I would hate that one.
Same. If anyone who knows me knows I don't like my hair being touched.
It's like, don't
Once it's done,
me.
it's done. Don't touch it. Don't mess it up.
Don't touch me. People also, and most impressively, people also see the apparition of a woman who they believe to be the spirit of Elizabeth Bell Morgan. The sighting of her spirit was actually kind of the inaugural piece of paranormal activity.
Right, kind of like with the Gray Lady.
Mm-hmm. Her original sighting dates back to 1903, 3 months before the library opens. The story of the encounter was published in the Easton Daily Express. The person who reported said they saw a woman float around the outside of the new building, go inside and stand by a window where her head began to glow.
That's really cool.
Isn't it? It's a little bit like, oh my god, Late Night with the Devil.
That's what I was thinking of, but I wasn't sure if that's what you were going for. But yeah,
it was. That's what I was going for. I just saw that shit. I loved it, except for the ending when I didn't like the ending.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, but the glowing head thing is inexplicable, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
And people still see her from time to time.
That's awesome.
I
want to see her.
Yeah, we should
do an investigation at the Easton Public Library.
Yeah, we should fucking try it.
Totally.
That's like,
we don't have a library of our past investigations. Like this would be the first one.
That's
really cool.
I'd be in for it. Like, think of the cool shots you could get of the library.
Exactly how creepy we could make it look.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it would be fun. Easton Public Library, hit us up. You know,
we'll
hit.
If you don't, we're gonna hit you up. So
yeah, we're coming.
Yeah,
get ready. But yeah, that would be cool. I don't think they've had a paranormal investigation team in before.
I love when we're the first one, because that's happened before.
Yeah.
We could even, like, if the city's not too loud, we could try to go on the sinkhole.
Ooh.
I mean, I wouldn't want to fall in, but we could go on the sinkhole and see if we get anything there, too.
I don't know if it's the kind of sinkhole that you actually have to worry about falling into, unless you're, like, a car.
I mean, sinkholes could just open up at any moment.
Boy, is that fucking true.
It happens.
It's Pennsylvania.
Hashtag Pennsylvania.
Just Pennsylvania things. Oh my god.
Ghosts and sinkholes.
Yeah. Ghosts, sinkholes, and Benjamin Franklin being nude in his yard. That's what we've got in Pennsylvania. Fucking watch out.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But that's really exciting. This is in our backyard. It has a really cool story. A freaking whole grave, and that not all of the pieces were moved.
Yeah, we got people parts.
We got apparitions. We got stuff flying off the bookshelves. Like,
Yeah,
this is a really great
good
place.
Evidence,
Yeah.
you know, and they touch people. There's an opportunity for Jordan to get fucked with. Poor Jordan. We miss you, Jordan.
Yes, we miss you. We wish you were here because you would have made this podcast episode so much better.
Absolutely.
But we hope you feel better. Wow. I am in shock because, like, when I saw haunted libraries on our list, I was like, all right, like, what's going to make these haunted? You know, how could someone have died at a library? You know, did a book fall on you? But there's actual, like, really cool stories that go along with these.
Yeah.
These are awesome.
They are public institutions, and sometimes they're on top of grave sites. Sometimes they're cursed. Sometimes a guy has a heart attack in him.
That's right.
Like, you never know.
Exactly.
Shit could happen anywhere.
It can.
Anywhere could be haunted.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, we could die tomorrow.
We could. All right. Well, let's not end on a gravely note there.
No. Okay, it's me.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. You all, I see the numbers increasing every day, and it's so great to have new people come and people continue to listen. Please rate to us. We don't have any spooky fan stories right now. We spoke to a lot of people who are going to send some in. And even if we had one, we wouldn't read it anyway because Jordan's not here.
Yeah. So
And I would never do that without Jordan.
Absolutely not.
Nope. Please give us 5 stars wherever you are listening. It really helps us out. Don't forget, if you want to add free episodes and bonus content, Patreon.
We
Go to our
got one.
Patreon.
Yep.
Yes, we do. If you have a haunted library where you live, let us know. Write us in because I'd love to do a part 2, part 3, 4. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Haunted libraries.
I was impressed.
So if you have one in your neighborhood, in your city, in your town, let us know. We'll add it to our list.
Absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Stay spooky.
And do not park your car on top of a mass grave.
Or a sinkhole.
Yeah.